Welcome to the Massachusetts Youth Soccer Association Final Score podcast, assisting the development of players, coaches, referees, and administrators one episode at a time. Now, here's your host, Marcus Cole.
Welcome to the podcast. My name is Marcus Cole. With me today is Tommy Geis, Technical Director for Massachusetts Youth Soccer. Tommy, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to getting our podcast up and running again. This is exciting.
And today we're going to be talking about the Olympic Development Program. A lot of people out there have heard the name ODP out there and may not necessarily know what the program is about. Why should their player be a part of it? What are some of the benefits? And that's what Tommy is here today to talk about. We have tryouts here with Mass Youth Soccer coming up on this Saturday and Sunday, as well as the following Saturday and Sunday here in Lancaster. And we're just going to run through some of the basic details of what ODP is. So why don't we go ahead and dive right in, Tommy? Talk to us a little bit about exactly what is Olympic Development Program, ODP.
Well, the Olympic Development, you can't even call it Olympic Development Program because that's program twice. It's either it's ODP, which often gets misconstrued with trying to say it and trying to remember it. But ODP is basically, it's part of a player's pathway. It's an identification process. It is a truly is a program that really is looking for a small percentage of the players who are mentally, physically, psychologically, technically ready to play at new challenges. And you can't necessarily call it a new level because it's still a youth pathway. It's a complementary program to what the clubs are doing with their children already, what they're doing to help them achieve what every child's individual goal hopefully is.
And we're seeing a lot of players come into the program and be a part of it. And they obviously have this opportunity at this pathway. And there's so many different levels of ODP as far as competing just at your state level and getting in those additional training sessions. And we have some of the sub-regional events, and then we have regional events, then we have national events, and we have national camps, and all these other things. What are the true benefits? What can players and parents sink their teeth into when it comes to ODP?
Well, it's slightly different per age group, but ideally it's trying to get some players out of their shell, out of their comfort zone, maybe identifying them in a way that they haven't been seen before. And we always use a discussion or comments that, generally speaking, when you try out for a team, a club team or a town team, whatever that might be, you are selected based on overall ability, and then you're placed into a position based on the other players on the team. Well, ODP allows you to explore different ideas. Maybe you might be really strong in a different position that isn't connected to your team, but might be an area that you could excel in and move on. Doesn't mean that the clubs or towns are doing anything wrong. They're actually doing things quite right. But we're trying to give the players a different complement to that pathway. Where do they want to go? How we could help them become the full player, how we could complement their club program, and then hopefully get them on a pathway to achieve their own individual goals. One of the best things you get out of ODP is you get to experience competition that you may never get to experience in your current situation. You get an opportunity to be in front of college coaches because it is a very useful tool that when you're putting together a resume for college, if you could show that you have made at least your state ODP program, you are generally a step above. You are generally a strong player that potentially college coaches are going to look at and say, this is a worthwhile player to see. And then finally, for a very small percentage, but the truly cut above player, if you will, there is an outside chance of getting seen by a national team and making it to the one of our youth national team programs.
I've seen that happen with a player that went on to play for a youth national team, and they were identified at a sub-regional ODP event. So it just really depends upon the player and what their goals are. And like the one thing I really like that you mentioned is getting the player out of their comfort level, because I mean, sometimes you do get comfortable where you are and doing the things that you're doing. ODP can provide that opportunity for you to, like you said, play in a different position. I know a number of players that are natural forwards, and they had the opportunity to play at an outside back position for their ODP team. And they really found out that they excelled in that position and really started to enjoy that type of thing.
Well, in my pathway in particular, that if I would have listened to my first coach, I would have had a very short career. Not that the coach was doing anything wrong, but depending upon the environment I was in, my position awfully changed. Ultimately, when I got to college, because of my intimidating size, I ended up as a central defender. And way back in the day, when there was very few professional leagues and I was getting consideration to possibly play there, it was as a central defender. So if I would have just had the mindset, the fixed mindset, if you will, that I could only play forward, well, I might have missed out on lots of opportunities. Probably the 10 years after college, I was probably playing in a position that I only played the final 2 years of college.
And it's great because, like you said, it just pushes the player outside of their comfort zone and allows them to fully develop that be a better player and mindset. And especially when you come into a position that maybe you're not used to playing, can help you be a better positional player when you go back to your club team. So, I mean, it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for players. What do you say? I know one of the benefits, my daughter played ODP, and one of the benefits she really took away, and I think this maybe is missed on a lot of people, is the camaraderie that you build with the teammates within the state program, and also at the regional level. If they were to make a regional team, just those bonds and camaraderie are so strong. Can you talk a little bit about that?
That's a really awesome point that you brought up, because somewhere in the American culture, we've come up with this concept that the team wearing a different jersey is always the enemy. But through ODP, a lot of these players have the chance to play with and against players from other clubs that they wouldn't normally have the chance to play with. Even high school players playing against high school so-called rivals. And when they are playing on a team in ODP, and then they get out back into their home environment and they see one of their ODP teammates on the other team, it's a lot more friendly battle. Now, you're going to play against that person as hard as you can, because you know that that is what the player is going to give you. But it's in a friendly way. It's something that if you get in on a tackle, you see them patting each other on the back, helping each other up, respecting each other's ability to play, even though if they wouldn't have been in an environment like this, they may not have had that experience. Now, having said that, club programs can do that same thing for players, but ODP kind of takes it to that next step and looks at players and say, we've actually achieved something together that not everybody can achieve. So there's for sure, a lot of camaraderie that goes into the game.
Now, this weekend, we have ODP tryouts in Lancaster, and we want to kind of give people, especially those first timers that are within ODP, what does a tryout look like for the different age groups? What can they expect when they come into this weekend?
Well, the age groups, it all looks relatively the same. For the most part, they show up and they play soccer. And this kind of blows people's minds sometimes, because we're trying to identify the best soccer players by playing soccer. So we usually put them into some sort of small-sided game, 3 versus 3 or 4 versus 4, and then we take them into a bigger game. And through that process, we try to identify who are the players that are going to step above, not just positionally. So often you might have a local coach that'll say, that player is my best defender. However, you watch them in this environment and try to pick up on what their tendencies are. Do they sit back and just play as a second goalkeeper? Do they understand how to flow with the game, how to move forward, how to move back in the different roles when their team has the ball, when their team doesn't have the ball? Based on that, we make a selection. We try to get it to a certain number based on the age group and the number of teams within that age group, so that we could get them working together. As far as the tryouts go, though, it should be a comfortable feeling as far as just come out and play. At the end of the day, have a good time, play soccer. I always have the conversation with evaluators at town programs or even at the ODP program. Tryouts are more of an issue for coaches. Players just have to play, enjoy your day. It's the adults that are on the field. It's their job to factor in the tryout process, not the child's. They just play soccer.
That's great advice, and that's a great mindset to come into a tryout with. You just go out and play. Get out of your head, just go and play, enjoy yourself, have a good time, meet some new people. Like I said, we have tryouts going on this weekend and next weekend as well. We'll make sure to have some links posted on where players can go ahead and get registered for the program. As we wrap things up here on the podcast, Tommy, if you could have just one piece of advice to players, to coaches that are talking to their players at the club level, what would that one piece of advice be to these players and to these coaches about the Mass Youth Soccer Olympic Development Program?
ODP is not designed to take players away from clubs. It's to complement that and give the players different opportunities. In fact, when a child has a conflict and they said, my club needs me, we're going to this event, I can't make training, I can't make a game, we are fully understanding of that. The only thing we tell the parents and the players is that it is an identification process. So yes, we do need to see you, but we are always willing to work with players that have been identified, but might have some conflicts along the way. We're more than happy to work with them through the process.
That's the big thing, is that ODP is not a replacement one single bit. It's a complementary program for the players' development and their pathway. Tommy Geis, Technical Director, Massachusetts Youth Soccer, ODP tryouts coming up this weekend and next weekend. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Massachusetts Youth Soccer Association Final Score podcast. Remember to give our podcast a 5-star rating. This will help get the word out to others and let them know about our program. Copyright 2023. All rights reserved.